Hey buddies, life tests you in some manner. Doesn't someone you once touched our hearts? Loved the person who made the vow. Whoever made you trust in them would stay. They left your life for all time. You were left standing in the debris, surrounded by suffering, bewilderment, and the deafening quiet of unresolved questions you constantly replay, pondering whether you saw the warning flags or if there was something you could have done. In contrast, lying awake during the night is the most difficult. When you gaze at the ceiling, your thoughts become into what transpired was an emotional battleground. I didn't think about these things enough. Echo, gradually eroding your confidence that makes you doubt you're valuable, but time is as relentless as it can be. Start to soften the corners of your suffering. You rebuild yourself every day. Discover strength where you didn't think you had it. No existed, you find fragments of yourself that their departure attempted to remove you begin to recover, not because they didn't apologize, because they arrived back. But since you decided to do so, then it occurs as your heart starts to heal. A notification, a message, one tiny loaded phrase. Hello, how are you? As if a thundercloud were to drift back into the heavens, bringing a deluge of feelings of rage, despair, and bewilderment, even wish you would look at the screen. Reading the words again and asking why now. This is the reason why, after all this time, mute truth. The reason for their homecoming isn't, you're now worth more to. It concerns their own unsolved feelings that individuals frequently aren't aware of. When you've had it, they've lost it. Been recovering, they've been battling the results of their decisions. Maybe they believed that going would bring people clarity or happiness, but life has a method of imparting difficult subjects. They could have come to understand that the relationship it wasn't so simple to replace abandoned, perhaps the sense of isolation they believed they would. Instead, escape followed them. But let's clearly state one thing regarding their return. Doesn't a confirmation of your value make you worth? Was never established by there. Whether you were there or not, you were always sufficient. As Maya Angelou sagely stated, never prioritize someone when you're all. That is a possibility that their message could ignite something within you, perhaps a spark of wish to get back in touch, or even a closing is required. However, before you reply, I ask you to take a moment to breathe. What does this do, and what do I want from it? Indicate that you've gone a long way for me. Suffered the anguish of being without them, the evenings spent doubting oneself, and the battle to regain your sense of their own value. Their return isn't an offer to reverse all of that expansion, a test of your fortitude and self-control and your capacity to keep the peace. When they departed, they made a decision. It's your turn now. Do you forgive them for returning to your life? But maintain your distance, or do you just recognize that you deserve better and go compared to someone who merely understands your worth after they've caused you pain? The response is difficult, but it is up to you to make. Keep in mind that you now own the power. You've put in the effort to mend, and in a sense, you deserve to go on. That pays tribute to your journey as we plunge further exploration of the psychology underlying there. Let's go back and examine how Stoicism can direct your reaction and what this moment is about means for your own development. But prior to proceeding, ask yourself just wondering if I'm ready to make a decision. I am the number one person people look for. Emotional take sanctuary in intimacy when a former departing. When you return abruptly, it's usually less about how much they value you, and more about their quest for a comfortable existence might be erratic, and when they discover caught in an emotional storm or challenges to which they are prone toward what you recognize. But this love isn't usually the source of longing. Occasionally, it involves looking for emotional safety in the security you offered. Consider it this way. Someone may have free to pursue thrills or discover new potential departure from the safe harbor you initially established, they might feel thrilled by their selections. Yet, reality eventually catches up with shallow. Relationships with unmet expectations or difficulties start to weigh on them, which is when they don't only remember you individual, but the network of support you symbolized, a former romantic lover who left ignoring your attempts to foster the partnership months later, they back saying they've missed you. Truly miss could not be you personally, but the feeling of security, concern, and you provided grounding, but it's more about a door and more regarding their requirement for a psychologically stable emotional foundation. This behavior frequently results from internal problems that remain unaddressed. When life seems uncertain, individuals often return to what is comfortable and known. Your generosity, tolerance, and emotional strength created a safe haven for you, and when they are weak, they grasp for that comfort. But you're in need of to stop and think, are they coming, returned, because they genuinely appreciate you, or they are looking for safety from their own struggles? This is an important difference. If their return is primarily an escape, their own mayhem rather than actually, you risk reopening the connection when you re-establish it. For someone who might not have experienced old wounds, Marcus Aurelius once remarked, "You have control over your thoughts, not external circumstances. Recognize this, and you'll find resilience." This works so well here that you can't regulate their intentions or their return, but you have power over your reaction. Keep the peace by being explicit bounds. You're not a sentimental person. Use of a safety net when it's convenient. You're a valuable individual, worthy of connections based on reciprocal regard and sincere concern. When someone comes back, take some time to evaluate. Are they here with the purpose of investing in you, or are they just trying to find protection from their own mental turmoil? Your value is not determined by their return. It is an indication of their deficiencies. Let it serve as a reminder of your power and the affection you constantly showed, although avoid sacrificing your health in order to offer consolation to someone who is hesitant to drop this and do the same for you. Confirmation that I am my own in the comments, safe haven to announce your tranquility. Considering the need of emotional stability first. Keep in mind that you deserve partnerships where your value is acknowledged, not only recalled when convenient. Number 2, which they find intolerable. Your development would not be possible without them. Few acknowledge, yet it has profound roots in some people distance themselves from human nature. You think that without them, you'll fail. They depart anticipating your collapse, considering that their absence will impact a void too big to fill. But when you show them to be mistaken, it disturbs you when you grow, thrive, and shine. This is not because they abruptly appreciate you due of your strength. Questions their presumptions regarding their significance in your life. Picture someone who left your life with the idea that they were essential. They think their presence served as the cornerstone of your contentment. But after they learn about your accomplishments, see your grin in a picture, or observe the gleam in your eyes, while you're having fun without. It interferes with their story, believed that your world would cease to revolve. However, it's thriving without them in it, such as Sarah's spouse claimed they were preventing her from moving forward. Sarah was devastated for months, but she overcame. As she gained confidence, she was able to secure a promotion, got in touch with friends again, and began engaging in pastimes that brought joy. Received a note from her ex one day, unexpectedly, wishing her luck on her achievement. But as they spoke as time went on, it became evident that they were returning. Wasn't about acknowledging Sarah's development. The goal was to restore their importance of psychology in her life. People are being revealed behind this activity, who frequently look for approval or power, find it difficult to watch others flourish without. Your development reminds them of their influence. of their losses, but it also emphasizes their reply isn't always what they lack. Regarding love, or sometimes reconciliation is about their uneasiness at the thought of you discovering a purpose or love that doesn't include joy, include them. Nonetheless, this is where your power is found in Marcus Aurelius's astute written, "You are in charge of your thoughts, not external circumstances. Recognize this, and you will find the strength to bolster their emotions, anxieties, and their desire for approval." These are external occurrences that they don't describe yourself. What counts is how you choose to overcome in order to develop and to rebuild your life to reflect who you really are. Value when a departing individual comes back. Before allowing them to return to your life, consider if they are here to actually encourage my development, or are they attempting to regain your progress wasn't supposed to be controlled. A platform for their fears. You've put a lot of effort into overcoming and create a life that gives you power instead of let their return take precedence over that. Their uneasiness makes you think of your resiliency, and their discomfort with your development is not your concern. Rather, it is their lesson to discover that you are not accountable for their. Your life isn't a blank canvas for regrets. They're unsolved issues. This assertion is dropped in the remarks. I select growth in order to respect the it need guts and strength to rise. Requires to persevere and the discernment to safeguard your advancement and continue to prosper. Number 3, you deserve it. Returns them when someone makes you suffering. The psychological wounds aren't merely, even the one who caused you pain is yours to bear. You will eventually experience the consequences of their behavior. Remorse has a way of infiltrating their awareness, forcing them to reconsider their choices. After everything is said and done, the emotional, as heat cools, people could become aware of the pain they brought about, and that insight can restore them to your life. But first, the fact that they don't always return about apologizing or looking for. Sometimes reconciliation is motivated by their own unease. They're not. I'm not necessarily sorry to make you feel better. In an attempt to relieve their own, they feel guilty about their conscience. They must put things right instead of since they wish to correct the relationship, but because they're interested in release themselves from the weight of regret. Think of this as someone who once left you without a second's notice. Suddenly, a thought emerges with an "I apologize." They say, "I've been considering. I apologize for what I did and the hurt I caused you." It may seem sincere, and in some respects it might be, but the question is, does it? Does their apology signify a genuine shift, or is it's just an effort to get rid of the uneasy sense of guilt? It's crucial to understand that while their expression of regret could create a feeling of alleviation, it does not imply that they have actually. Sometimes they learned from their actions. People are sorry. Since they are unwilling to coexist with the repercussions of harming other people, they may experience remorse, but that does not always equate to significant alter or forgiveness, and accountability are personal path, and it's acceptable to acknowledge their, if it gives you the closure you need, I apologize, need. But forgiveness does not imply they must be let back into your death, or permit them to return without being aware of the more profound causes for their actions. You don't have to. To find peace, they must accept their guilt. Respect is what you really deserve. Integrity and sincere concern, neither of which can be discovered in a partnership where guilt is what motivates someone's actions. This affirmation is dropped in. The reminding people of my peace is invaluable. Yourself that your mental tranquility is more valuable than their shame. You deserve it now that you've learnt to heal. Keep the peace you so valiantly fought for. For number 4, they long for the ease of the absence of someone who is in your presence. Those who genuinely care have a special way of creating its existence was recognized when you were in their lives, which they might not have completely. I was grateful for the support and affection. Maybe they didn't notice the information you gave, how you gave your heart while listening support when they were feeling down, or established a location where they felt appreciated. But currently, in the silence left by your departure from those acts of compassion, they missed it, echoing loudly in their minds. The little things you did to make life simpler for them, the discussions in which you truly listened to the moments when you stood by them without anticipating anything. In exchange, as well as the silent confirmation that your presence abruptly brought them, acknowledge the gap you created that nobody other has succeeded in filling their returning. Something isn't always about acknowledging your value, but more about looking for the comfort they lost. Think about, this individual once disregarded your considerate actions and took your kindness taken for granted. All of a sudden resurfaces. They may say something like, "I've been considering you, or no one else, has ever shown me the kind of care you did." Even while asking might sound flattering. Determine for yourself whether their return is related to appreciating you personally or just neglecting your care's convenience. In actuality, your absence is a potent assertion that compels individuals to face their losses, but only because having regrets does not imply that they've altered. Occasionally they come back because they miss the solace you gave them, not because they're prepared to return the favor. You deserve the respect and love you deserve. Stoicism instructs us to safeguard our inner tranquility and resisting outside influences feelings, as prudently written by Marcus Aurelius. If anything outside of you hurts, this isn't what's bothering you, but your own assessment of it. Recognize that their remorse is their own. You were always valuable, not them. They simply didn't notice it in time. This confirmation in the remarks section of my To Remember Oneself, Kindness is Strength, that your capacity for profound concern is a strength should not be underestimated. Acknowledge that you deserve someone who notices and treasures that generosity, not just when it's gone, yet each and every day. 5. Unresolved feelings endure as long as shadows feelings do. Like shadows that stick with people for a long time. Relationships rely on when they leave, they frequently leave a trail of unresolved emotions that they both have. And yours, these feelings don't just in quiet moments, they fester as they disappear. Contemplation, and occasionally in place of addressing their misunderstanding directly, they pick the simpler path back to you. Wishing you could assist them in understanding what they can't. Think of someone resurfacing verbally in your life. I miss it, but I'm not sure what I want. It's a declaration full with deliberation, dragging you back into a dynamic that leaves you wondering about their plans. Their return could feel like a glimmer of optimism, but it frequently comes with the burden of their inner turmoil. Their residual emotions aren't not always about commitment or love. They are concerned about their immobility ahead, leaving them to fumble for what felt secure after they returned. They run the risk of holding unresolved emotions, pulling you into a confusing cycle. They are remorseful and yearning one day. The following time, they appear aloof and uncertain. Pulling and pushing might deplete your emotions. Energy that makes you wonder about yourself rather than acknowledging the instability in their. Marcus Aurelius's Acts stated the obstacle to action promotes action. The obstruction turns into the path, indicating that difficulties even in the manifestation of another person's doubt can be the secret to your own development. Return may seem like a challenge, but additionally, it's a chance to create more robust boundaries to safeguard your tranquility and confirm your value. Are you prepared to let them to unresolved feelings control your course? Or will you take this opportunity to develop into accept clarity and keep going? without the burden of their confusion and indecision are their own. Resolve your conflict and safeguard your peace. Put this affirmation in the remarks section of the declaration that peace cannot be negotiated, your self-worth and emotional clarity of priorities that you are strong enough to allow. Let go of doubt and make a decision. Partnerships that provide stability rather than they rework the six pandemonium. Story for themselves. When someone returns to your life following a period of suffering, their motives aren't always good. Sometimes the reason for their return isn't restoring a relationship or making amends. It's about changing the narrative they convey. People don't like to see themselves as the adversary, and resurfacing in your life provides them with opportunity to feel less like the antagonist and more akin to the one who attempted the image. This individual abandoned you without. Suddenly, closure begins to send nice texts or discreetly getting back in touch, but their efforts don't seem sincere. Express regret for the harm they have caused or take action to bring about significant change. Rather, they participate in superficial actions, such as like a previous post, or sending a quick message to ask how you've been. These activities are more about fixing your partnership and more about calming. They wish to rewrite their conscience, the story in their minds, a rendition where their hurt was less severe. They didn't leave that quickly, and where they continue to be someone you believe, this behavior's kindness can be felt perplexing since it presents itself as care, but upon closer inspection, their response frequently lacks responsibility or vulnerability required for true. Their deeds could lead to reconciliation. Momentary comfort, yet they abandon you pondering whether they truly wish to. Do they simply want to feel, or do they want to reunite? Marcus Aurelius, feeling better about oneself. Well written. Don't waste any more time debating regarding what a decent guy ought to be. Be one. This insight serves as a reminder that real goodness results from deeds that are in line with integrity rather than gestures intended to make it seem like it. When someone coming back to alleviate their own guilt, they're centered on their feelings rather than. The truth is that you don't have to allow them to rewrite your tale, feels your suffering and your recovery. Although the method is legitimate, they are not used. Using your life as a blank canvas to paint their errors, remain true to your boundaries. Safeguard the tranquility you've worked really hard to get them back, not accompanied by authentic responsibility and work you put forth every appropriate to permanently end that chapter. Put this affirmation in the remarks section of remind yourself that healing is mine. Your worth and narrative belong to you, is not based on their culpability, and your growth doesn't require their validation. Continue to go with power. And the seventh clarity is the fear of being replaced. When a former partner notices that you're doing well without them, engender a profound fear of replacement. They may have thought you will always be waiting for them to come back, but when the blossoming of your existence begins in their nervousness takes center stage in their absence. This has nothing to do with love or suddenly understanding your value, is about their personal anxiety over being excluded from your. Imagine this situation in real life. They catch wind of your happiness, whether via a fresh relationship milestone in one's career, or simply the calm that emanates from your social posts that abruptly resurface, expressing ideas such as, "I've been thinking regarding us," or "I misunderstood what they said," may seem heartfelt, but the timing frequently gives a different account of their return, which is rebuilding is less important than stopping you from progressing. The worry of being replaced without them is based on ego and control. When someone observes that you're finding contentment elsewhere, contests their understanding of their significance of this dread in your life, encourage them to get in touch rather than rekindle sincere affection. but to recover a feeling of significance. According to Marcus Aurelius, if it's not right, if it's not true, don't do it. Say that their behavior could appear considerate on the exterior, but if their driving force is to alleviate their uneasiness instead of enhance your well-being, but it's not the cornerstone of a healthy relationship, it's crucial to keep it apart. Their goals based on your own journey. You've put a lot of effort into rebuilding yourself, to discover happiness and meaning after they departed. They shouldn't be afraid of being replaced. Provide justification for you to reopen. Old instead, wounds allow their return to be a moment of contemplation. Am I permitting them to interfere with my tranquility for their personal comfort? Their approval is not necessary for happiness. You deserve all of the advancements. Nobody has the right to take what you've made. Die lessens the awareness of their terror for what it is and make an effort to maintain anything over which they have lost control. Exclude this affirmation from the remarks "I select my joy," to remind yourself that you are protected by growth. You are not a placeholder in another person's narrative. You are in charge of writing your own life, and your top priority is their return and your happiness. It's about them, not you, but how it is totally up to you how you react. Will you be revisiting a chapter that caused you suffering, or will you select option A? A fresh route to strength and self-respect. Keep in mind that you were. Their presence has never defined you. Become better and learned about your resiliency. Let their reappearance to serve as a reminder of your progress, rather than how much, if you can relate to this, you've lost. Leave a comment with your ideas. Together, let's continue to grow.